You know, it's not just for pastors and missionaries and grandparents. Prayer is for you and for me, and it's a lifeline. It's so life-giving once you get the hang of it. Our very special guest today is Pastor Chad Veach. He's author of the brand new book, Worried About Everything Because I Pray About Nothing, How to Live with Peace and Purpose Instead of Stress and Burnout. Hello, Chad. Welcome to Spirit 105.3. I'm looking forward to talking with you about prayer and peace and purpose, all the good peace. But we got to start with the names of your kids. I think you have the coolest kid names in history. We've got Georgia, Winston, Maverick, and Clive. I'm feeling the Winston Churchill vibes, the C.S. Lewis vibes. And how about the hippest movie in history? How does your kid feel about that?
Okay, so we're both pastors' kids, my wife and I, and we are in church. So we chose 4 names that we don't know anyone that has that name. Because name association is so strong. All of our kids' names are unique to us, and we just adore them.
I mean, have you gone to see Maverick as a family and I'm just picturing your kids sitting there going, I am literally the coolest kid in 2022.
You know, my wife went and saw it 2 nights ago, and she said, we've got to bring him to see this.
Yeah.
It's too cool.
It really is a great movie. Well, what else is great is your book, Worried About Everything Because I Pray About Nothing, How to Live with Peace and Purpose Instead of Stress and Burnout. And Chad, I want to say right away, I feel like prayer is so often like dancing. I will say things like, I'm just not good at it. I'm not good at dancing. I'm not good at prayer. But there are some things that you and I can do to get better at it, to reconnect with God, right?
Yeah, and you said it. No one likes to do something they're not good at. We all gravitate to do the things that we are really familiar with and the things that are comfortable. And I think that's why prayer is this thing that feels like arduous and like it's a mountain that we got to climb. When in reality, I think we have to debunk that myth that it has to be a certain way and it has to sound a certain way. And prayer in its purest form is just communication. It's just talking to Jesus. And I think what's so great is that prayer is an invitation into intimacy. And when I come, I get to talk to God. He doesn't want me to sound polished and polite and cookie cutter or religious. I can be raw. I can be authentic. I can be genuine. And I can totally be myself about disappointments, frustrations, temptations, whatever I'm going through. I can pour out my heart. And he's actually like the most truest, faithful friend I have. And so the way I would talk to my best friend is the way I get to talk to Jesus. Yes. And I always say to people that don't know how to pray, I say, okay, if you're not good at prayer, welcome to the club, number 1. Yeah. Number 2, why don't you just do this? Start a contact in your phone named God or Jesus, whatever you'd like, and start texting your prayers. Like, you're so good at texting, why don't you text God? Because prayer is this thing, it doesn't have to be on paper. It doesn't have to be digital. It could be however you want, whatever form of communication you'd like to choose. Choose your own adventure. The whole point, though, is just talking to God.
I love that so much. I am absolutely going to incorporate that. But what you just described, Chad, to me is, I call it dumping out the shells. So when I was a little girl, I'd be on the beach with my dad. He would always take a walk with me. We would collect all these shells, and then I would dump them out and show my mom, and I'd go, I don't really need to keep this one or that one. I feel like when I am honest in prayer and I tell God how I really feel, He can take it. I think that there's a fear sometimes that maybe He's going to get mad at us if we're honest, but He knows our hearts anyway, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and the Bible says He already knows what we need before we even ask Him. So we're never catching Him off guard. I don't think we've ever come to a prayer session, a prayer meeting, a prayer time, and God's like, wait, what happened?
Right.
Are you serious? Okay, let me go look at the tape. Let me go. Was this on the Ring app? Is this on the Nest Cam? I don't know. Like, He already knows. He's watching. He's involved. He cares. And again, prayer is it's an invitation to intimacy. So it's an opportunity for us to get closer. And a lot of times what's so great is I come to God with my prayer, right, or my problem.
Sure.
And when I leave prayer, I still have the problem. It's just that now I have peace about the problem. Now I have a greater perspective about the problem. Like, I still have the bill to pay, or I'm still in the hospital room, or I still have to go apologize to that person and deal with forgiveness. But I just have a whole new outlook and a whole new power after my prayer time. So I always say, prayer changes things, mainly me. I am changed in prayer. And a lot of times I come to God and I've got this agenda. I want to accomplish this. I want to do that. I need you to answer this. I want to go there. I want this door to open. And by the time I leave my time with God, it's like, okay, but I surrender and you have my life and you're in control and I don't want to live for me. I want to live for you. And my motives get washed away in prayer.
Wow. I love everything you're saying. You use the word burnout. You cover this in your book. It's a buzzword right now. I don't know a human being who hasn't experienced burnout since the pandemic started. What is the antidote to burnout?
Well, think about Jesus. He says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened and heavy laden. The Message translation says, he goes, are you tired? Are you worn out? And every parent I know nods their head and a tear falls down their cheek, and they're like, yes. We haven't slept in months. But it's like, yeah, we're all tired. Where can you get a real rest? A real rest is not a trip to Cabo. I don't care how great the hotel is or the beach or the pool. Real rest comes from God. Rest is his promise. And when we get into his presence, see, I love prayer. I always think, by the way, we don't worship prayer. Prayer is just a vehicle.
Yes.
So I don't worship Uber. Like when the Uber guy picks me up from where I am and takes me to where I need to be, I do not worship Uber. And we don't worship prayer. Prayer is a vehicle. It gets me from where I am to where I need to be. I'm in stress. Prayer brings me into peace. I'm in burnout. It brings me into rest. I'm in chaos. It brings me into comfort. Because prayer just brings me to Jesus. It brings me to God. And when I get into the presence of God, everything I need is available. So when you're burnt out, what you really need is time with God, because he can recover your soul. He can restore your soul. And so I think it's a big deal that we learn how to do this. Otherwise, we're going to stay anxious. We're going to stay stressed. We're going to stay burnt out. We're going to stay on edge. We're going to stay suffocated by our situations. And I just think, if I was the enemy, I would do everything within my power to get you convinced you cannot pray. You're not good enough. You don't know how to do it. You're not from the right family. You don't say the right word. It's not for you. And even if your spirit is willing, the flesh is weak.
Yes.
So we got to learn how to get a hold of God for our marriage, for our children, for our church, for our communities, for our nation. Prayer is the main thing.
Absolutely. He's real. Sometimes I have to go, Eric, wait a minute, stop it. He's real. Even though he's not talking back to you, he's real. Chad, I want to ask you, because we ask everybody that comes on the show, if you have a miracle story in your life. We do Miracle Monday. Is there something you'd like to share that God did in your family, in your career, in your early life, something that you'd like to tell?
The first thing that comes to mind is the other day, I got a text from a friend. We've been friends for 8 years when I first moved. And when I met him, I thought, this is probably the coolest guy I've ever met. He's just kind of in the industry and really influential in culture and fashion and so on and so forth. Right when I met him, I go, I'm just going to start praying that he comes to Jesus. I'm going to pray he gets saved. So we become friends, and we've hung out through the years and played golf together and got to know each other and had some meals. And I really like him, and I think he really likes me, and we're buddies. We talk. And he texted me 2 weeks ago, and out of the blue, he says, I gave my life to Jesus.
Oh, my goodness.
And I texted back. I go, what? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? So we start texting. He tells me the story how he got saved, and I said, hey, I never told you this, but I've been praying for years that you would come to faith and that you would start to know the love of God. And he wrote back, he goes, I know you have. I go, you did? He goes, yeah, every time I was with you, I could sense that you were praying for me and that you cared about me and that you were like God's representation in my life.
Oh.
And I was like, this is a miracle. It made my day to hear him say, I gave my life to Jesus.
Oh, it makes our day too. Chad Veach, he's a pastor, he's a husband, a dad, an author of the book, Worried About Everything Because I Pray About Nothing, How to Live with Peace and Purpose Instead of Stress and Burnout. Write another book and come back and hang out with us.
We'll do. I'm running off to do it right now.
Thank you so much. God bless you.